You're healed. So why are you stuck? What if the reason you still feel stuck isn't because you're broken, but because you're still acting like you are? Think about that for a second. Have you ever noticed how sometimes, even after the pain is gone, something inside you still hesitates? Not your body, but your spirit. It's like the wound closed, time moved on, life kept going, but your mind stayed behind, replaying the fear of being hurt again. So you slow down. You hold back. You protect yourself from something that no longer exists. And without realizing it, you begin to walk through life with a limp that no one else can see, but you feel every single day. How many times have you stopped yourself from trying again? Not because you couldn't, but because you were afraid. Afraid of feeling that same pain. Afraid of reliving that same disappointment. And so, you adapt. You convince yourself that playing small is safer. That staying where you are is smarter. But deep down, you know something isn't right. Because you weren't created to live cautiously forever. You weren't designed to move through life half alive. There is something inside you that knows you were meant for more. And here's the truth that might change everything. Healing already happened, but you haven't started living like it yet. There's a story about a woman who went through foot surgery. Weeks later, after rest and recovery, her doctor cleared her to walk again. On her first day of physical therapy, the therapist asked her a simple question: "Does it still hurt?" She paused and said, "No, it doesn't." Then the therapist looked at her and asked something that hit deeper than expected. "If it doesn't hurt, why are you still limping?" That question stopped her completely. Because in that moment, she realized something powerful. Her body was healed, but her mind was still protecting her from a pain that was already gone. And the therapist said something even more important. If you keep walking like this, you'll never regain your full strength. You have to trust it again. You have to use it. And that's exactly where so many people are right now. Not physically broken, but mentally holding on to old pain. Carrying invisible patterns. Building internal walls that say, "Don't trust again, don't try again, stay safe." But let me ask you something honestly. How long can you live like that? How long can you keep shrinking yourself just to avoid something that already passed? Because the longer you stay in that mindset, the more you lose. You lose opportunities. You lose growth. You lose the life you were meant to experience. And all because you're protecting yourself from something that God already healed. Fear has a voice. It whispers things that sound logical. Be careful. Don't risk it. Remember what happened last time. But there's another voice, quieter, but stronger. A voice that reminds you that you were not given a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. And the moment you begin to listen to that voice, everything starts to shift. Because faith doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means you move anyway. It means you take the next step, even when your legs are shaking. It means you trust that what's ahead of you is greater than what's behind you. There was a young woman who dreamed of becoming a mother. When she found out she was pregnant, it felt like a miracle. Joy filled her life in ways she had never experienced before. But then, she lost the baby. And in a moment, everything changed. The excitement turned into silence. The hope turned into grief. And the dream she once held so tightly became something she was afraid to touch again. She told herself, "I can't go through that again." So she stopped. Not because she didn't want it anymore, but because she was afraid of the pain. She started limping, emotionally, spiritually. Until one day, she heard something that reached her in a way nothing else had. God doesn't end stories in pain. He transforms pain into purpose. That sentence changed everything. It didn't erase her fear, but it gave her the courage to move again. Slowly, carefully, but forward. And months later, she held her child in her arms. What once felt like an ending became a new beginning. And that's what faith does. It doesn't always remove the struggle, but it rewrites the outcome. It takes what felt final and opens a new door. But that door only appears when you choose to move. Because healing isn't always instant. Sometimes it happens in the process. In the daily decision to keep going. In the small steps you take when you don't feel ready. Think of it like therapy for the soul. Every time you choose to trust again, to try again, to believe again, You're strengthening something inside you. You're rebuilding what fear tried to break. And over time, you realize something powerful. You're not the same person anymore. You're stronger. You're wiser. You're ready. Life will always come with challenges. Pain will happen. Disappointments will come. But those moments don't define you, they shape you. They prepare you. They remind you of what you're capable of surviving. There's a reason why even in difficult moments, something inside you refuses to quit. Because deep down, you know, you're not finished yet. Your story isn't over. And the same strength that carried you through before is still within you now. So let me ask you something that only you can answer. Are you still limping because of something that already healed? Are you still holding back because of something that no longer has power over you? And if the answer is yes, what would happen if today you decided to walk differently? Not perfectly, not fearlessly, but faithfully. What would change if you took just one step forward, trusting that you're not alone? Because here's what you need to remember. God never asked you to be perfect. He asked you to move, to trust, to step forward even when it's uncomfortable. Because movement creates strength. Action builds confidence. And faith opens doors that fear keeps closed. You don't need to see the whole path. You just need to take the next step. So right now, take a breath. Let go of what's behind you. And make a decision. A real one. Decide that you're done living like you're still broken. Decide that you're ready to move forward. Even if it's slow. Even if it's uncertain. Because every step you take in faith brings you closer to the life you were meant to live. If this message spoke to you, don't ignore it. Turn it into action. Close your eyes for a moment and say quietly, "Teach me to walk again." Let that be your starting point. And from there, just keep going. Because you were never created to limp through life. You were created to run.